Welcome to Silent Confessions.
There's this moment, this specific, crystallized moment, when you realize that the person who's supposed to love you more than anyone else in the world doesn't. Not really. Not in the way love is supposed to work. For me, that moment came at 7:03 in the morning, on December 12th, my 18th birthday. Standing in a kitchen that smelled like cleaning products instead of birthday cake. Staring at 3 cardboard boxes and a manila folder. I kept thinking, surely this was a misunderstanding. Surely my mum, the woman who squeezed my hand 3 times every Friday, the woman who said, "You and me forever," surely she didn't actually expect me to just leave. But then, she walked into the kitchen, and I saw her face, and I knew she was already dressed, full makeup, hair done, like she'd been awake for hours, preparing for this. She was wearing one of the new outfits, a burgundy sweater I'd never seen before, tight jeans, those ankle boots with the heels. She looked put together, in control. I was still in my pajamas. "Mom?" My voice came out smaller than I intended. What is this?" She didn't sit down. She stood on the other side of the kitchen island, the boxes between us like a barrier, like she'd positioned them there on purpose. "Gina." She took a breath, and I could see she'd rehearsed this. "You're 18 now. You're an adult. And I think it's time we both acknowledged that you need to start your own life." "Start my own life?" I repeated. The words didn't make sense. "Mom, I don't understand. Is this about college? Because I can commute. I don't have to." "This isn't about college." Her voice was calm. Too calm. Clinical. "This is about you learning to be independent. To stand on your own 2 feet." I stared at her, and then I looked past her, into the living room, where I could see him. Marcus. Sitting on our couch. The one where we used to watch movies, scrolling through his phone like this, was completely normal. "Is this his idea?" I asked quietly. Mum's jaw tightened. "This is my decision, Gina. Don't blame Marcus. For me finally prioritizing my own happiness. Finally prioritizing her own happiness. Like the past 18 years had been some kind of prison sentence she'd been serving." Pause. Voice breaking slightly. "So what am I supposed to do?" I asked. "Where am I supposed to go?" She pushed the manila folder toward me across the counter. "I've put together some resources. There are shelters, programs for young adults transitioning to independence." "Shelters?" The word came out like a gasp. "Mum, you're talking about homeless shelters. They're not just for homeless people," she said. And I swear to God, she sounded annoyed. Annoyed that I wasn't being more grateful for her carefully researched list of places I could go sleep on a cot with strangers. "They're for people in transition. And Gina, you need to understand, I can't keep supporting you forever. You're an adult now. It's time you learned what the real world is like." I opened the folder. My hands were shaking. The first page was a printed list. Transitional housing resources for young adults. Addresses, phone numbers, intake hours. The second page was a bullet-pointed document titled, "Moving Forward, Expectations and Boundaries. As of December 12th, all financial support will cease. This includes, but is not limited to, housing, food, clothing, transportation, and phone service. The family phone plan will be terminated effective December 31st. I looked up at her. "You're cutting off my phone? You can get your own plan. With your own money? From your own job?" She said it like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. "Mom, I don't have a job. You never let me." I stopped, because the moment I said it out loud, I saw it. The trap she'd built. No job, no license, no money, no independence. And now, suddenly, I was supposed to conjure all of it out of thin air because I'd turned 18. "Then I suggest you start looking for one," she said simply. I felt something crack inside my chest. Something that sounded like the last piece of my childhood breaking in half. "You said you and me forever," I whispered. For the first time, something flickered across her face. Guilt? Regret? But it was gone. as fast as it came. I said a lot of things, Gina. People change. Situations change. She glanced back at Marcus, who still wasn't looking up from his phone. I spent 18 years putting my life on hold for you. I think I've earned the right to put myself first now. I have until sunset, I said, looking at the boxes. That's what you said. I think that's fair. Fair. I looked at my mother, really looked at her, and I didn't recognize the person standing there. This wasn't the woman who made popcorn and cried at romantic comedies. This was a stranger wearing my mother's face. Okay, I said quietly. She blinked, surprised, like she'd expected me to beg, to cry, to promise I'd be better, take up less space, need less, be less. Okay? She repeated. Okay, I'll be gone by sunset. And then I turned around and walked out of the kitchen, leaving her standing there with her boxes and her folder and her new life. I didn't cry. Not yet. I was too shocked to cry. Have you ever tried to fit your entire life into 3 cardboard boxes? I stood in my room, the room I'd slept in since I was 6 years old, and I tried to figure out what was essential, what mattered, what I couldn't live without. Clothes, obviously. But which ones? I didn't own much to begin with. A few pairs of jeans, some t-shirts, sweaters, underwear. I folded everything as small as I could, trying to make it fit. 1 box for clothes. The second box, I didn't know. School supplies? My laptop? I grabbed my backpack and put the laptop in there instead, along with chargers, my notebooks, pens. I looked at my desk, the homework I'd been working on the night before, my AP history textbook, a half-finished essay about the New Deal. Would I even finish high school now? We were halfway through senior year. I had 6 months left. How was I supposed to do that? While also finding a job, finding a place to live, finding a way to survive. I sat down on my bed, and that's when I saw it. The corkboard above my desk. Photos. Dozens of them. Me and Mum at the beach when I was 10. Me and Mum at my 8th grade graduation. Me and Mum. Me and Mum. Me and Mum. Every photo was the 2 of us. I didn't have pictures with friends. I didn't really have friends. I didn't have pictures from school dances. Mum said they were a waste of money. I didn't have pictures of parties or sleepovers or normal teenage things. Just us. I stood up and started pulling the photos down, one by one. I was going to pack them. I reached for one me, maybe 7 years old, sitting on Mum's lap, both of us laughing at something, and I stopped. Did I even want these? These photos were evidence of the life I'd thought I had, the life where I was loved and special and safe. But that life was a lie, wasn't it? Or maybe it wasn't a lie, but it came with conditions I didn't know I was agreeing to. You can be loved, but only if you never leave. You can be special, but only if you stay small. You can be safe, but only in this cage. I left the photos on the corkboard. Let her deal with them. The second box. I packed books. My favourites. The Outsiders. To Kill a Mockingbird. A collection of poems I'd bought at a thrift store. My journal, the one I wrote in when things got too heavy to keep inside. The third box. I didn't know what to put in the third box. I stood there, looking around my room. My whole life was supposed to fit into 3 boxes, and I couldn't even fill them. So I started grabbing things that felt important, even if I didn't know why. My childhood stuffed rabbit that I hadn't touched in years, but couldn't imagine leaving behind. A blanket my grandmother made before she died. My birth certificate and social security card, I found those in Mum's filing cabinet in the hallway, and taking them felt like stealing. But they were mine, weren't they? I was almost done when I heard footsteps in the hallway. Not Mum's. His. Marcus appeared in my doorway. He didn't come in, he just stood there, leaning against the frame like he owned the place. Which, I guess, he kind of did now. Need any help? He asked. The audacity. No, I said, not looking at him. You know, he said, and I could hear the smile in his voice. This is actually a really good thing for you, Gina. Your mom, she's been holding you back, keeping you dependent. This is going to force you to grow up, to become your own person. I turned to look at him, really look at him. He was wearing a suit, on a Saturday morning. Who wears a suit on a Saturday morning? Someone who's performing? Someone who's always selling something. You don't know anything about me, I said quietly. I know you've been living off your mother for 18 years. I know you've never had a job, never paid a bill, never had to be responsible for yourself. That's not healthy, Gina. That's not how the real world works. Voice tight with controlled anger. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to tell him that I didn't have a job because my mother wouldn't let me, that I didn't have a license because she convinced me the roads were too dangerous, that I didn't have money because she controlled every dollar and told me I didn't need it. But I didn't say any of that, because I realized something in that moment. He knew. He knew exactly what he was doing. He saw an enmeshed, codependent woman who couldn't function without someone to take care of. And instead of her daughter, he wanted it to be him. I was competition. And he won. You're right, I said, turning back to my box. I do need to learn how the real world works. He seemed satisfied with that. He pushed off the doorframe. Glad you're being mature about this. And then he left. I finished packing in silence. 3 boxes, 1 backpack, 18 years. At 6:30 p.m, as the sun was starting to set, I carried the first box downstairs. Mom was in the living room with Marcus. They were looking at paint swatches. For my room, they were already redecorating. I set the box by the front door and went back for the second one, then the third. Mum glanced up when I came down the last time, but she didn't say anything, didn't offer to help, didn't ask if I had a place to go. Marcus put his arm around her shoulders, and she leaned into him. I stood at the front door with my 3 boxes and my backpack, and I realized I didn't have a way to carry all of this. I didn't have a car. I didn't even know where I was going. I pulled out my phone, which had 23% battery left and would be shut off in 19 days, and I scrolled through my contacts. I didn't have many. Most of them were Mum's friends, or relatives who I barely knew, or classmates I'd never actually hung out with. But there was one name, Kevin Miller, the boy who sat behind me in AP History, the boy who'd given me snacks when I couldn't afford lunch, the boy who'd looked at me like I was a person, not a project. My thumb hovered over his name. We weren't anything. We were barely friends. Would he even answer? I pressed call. He picked up on the second ring. Gina? He sounded surprised. Hey, my voice cracked. I know this is weird, but what's wrong? How did he know something was wrong? Could he hear it in my voice? I looked back at the living room. Mum and Marcus were still looking at paint swatches. I need help. I don't have anywhere to go. And I have these boxes. And I don't have a car. And where are you? I'm at my house. My mum's house. I'm coming. What's your address? I told him. And then I said, Kevin, you don't have to. I'm already grabbing my keys. I'll be there in 10 minutes. He hung up. I stood there, staring at my phone, trying to process that someone had just helped me, without asking questions, without conditions. I dragged my boxes onto the front porch and sat down on the curb to wait. The sun was setting, peachy orange light, making everything look warm and safe, which was ironic, because I'd never felt less safe in my life. I pulled my knees up to my chest, and I let myself feel it. All of it. The abandonment, the betrayal, the terror of not knowing what happened next. And then I heard a car, Kevin's beat-up Honda Civic, pulled up to the curb. He got out, and when he saw me sitting there with my boxes, his whole face changed. Gina, he said, and there was something in his voice, anger, but not at me. What happened? She kicked me out, I said simply. Today's my birthday. I'm 18. She said it's time I learned independence. Kevin looked at the house, then back at me. Where's she now? Inside, picking out paint colours for my room. His jaw clenched. She's what? It's fine, I said, even though it wasn't. Can you help me with the boxes? He started loading them into his trunk without another word. When we got to the last one, he paused. Where am I taking you? He asked quietly. And that's when it hit me. I had nowhere to go. I'd called Kevin to pick me up, but I hadn't thought past that. The folder Mum gave me had shelter addresses, but it was Saturday evening. Would they even have space? Would they take someone who wasn't, I don't know, visibly in crisis? I must have looked panicked, because Kevin said, Hey, look at me. I did. You're coming home with me. he said. My parents have a guest room. You can stay there tonight, and we'll figure out tomorrow. Okay? Kevin, I can't just... Yes, you can. My mum's a school counsellor. Trust me, she's going to want to help. Come on. He opened the passenger door for me. I looked back at the house one more time. Through the window, I could see Mum laughing at something Marcus said. She didn't even come outside to say goodbye. I got in the car. The Millers lived in the same neighbourhood, just 4 streets over. I'd probably passed their house 100 times and never thought about who lived there. Kevin pulled into the driveway, and I saw the house, a comfortable 2-story, with warm lights in the windows and a basketball hoop over the garage. It looked normal, lived in, safe. Come on, Kevin said, grabbing 2 of my boxes. Fair warning, my mum's probably going to ask a lot of questions. I don't mind, I said, even though I did. I minded everything. I minded that this was happening. I minded that I needed help. I minded that I was about to walk into a stranger's house with 3 boxes and a sob story. The front door opened before we even got there. Mrs. Miller stood in the doorway, a woman in her 40s, with short brown hair and glasses, wearing jeans and a cardigan. She looked at me, then at the boxes, then at Kevin. Mom, Kevin said, this is Gina. She needs a place to stay. Mrs. Miller's eyes softened immediately. Come inside, honey. And just like that, I was in their house. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't this. The inside of the Miller house was warm. That's the only word for it. There were family photos on the walls. Kevin, at various ages, vacation pictures, school photos. There was a coat rack by the door with jackets piled on it. There were shoes scattered in the entryway. There was a dog, a golden retriever named Scout, who came bounding over to sniff me. It was messy in the way real families are messy. Not dirty, just lived in. Mrs. Miller led me to the kitchen, where Mr. Miller was doing dishes. He was a tall man with greying hair, and when he saw me, he dried his hands on a towel and extended one toward me. Jim Miller, he said. You must be Gina. Kevin's mentioned you. He had? Nice to meet you, I managed. Mrs. Miller pulled out a chair at the kitchen table. Sit. Have you eaten? I tried to remember if I'd eaten that day. I didn't think so. Not really, I admitted. 10 minutes later, I had a plate of reheated lasagna in front of me. Real, homemade lasagna. Not as good as my mum's, but close. And the Millers sat with me, Kevin next to me, Mr. and Mrs. Miller across from us. And they didn't interrogate me. They just let me eat. It wasn't until I'd finished that Mrs. Miller said gently, Kevin told me a little bit about your situation. Do you want to tell me more? And so I did. I told her about the boxes, about the folder, about my mum's new boyfriend and the paint swatches and the homeless shelter list. I told her about not having a job or a license or any money. Mrs. Miller listened, really listened. And when I finished, she didn't gasp or tell me how awful it was, or say my mum must be crazy. She just said, Gina, do you know what enmeshment is? I shook my head. It's when the boundaries between a parent and a child get blurred. When a parent uses their child to meet their own emotional needs, instead of letting the child develop their own identity. It sounds like your mum relied on you to be her emotional support system, her best friend, her reason for living. But isn't that just being close? I asked. No, Mrs. Miller said softly. Being close means 2 people have separate lives that they choose to share. Enmeshment means 2 people can't tell where one ends and the other begins. And when that happens, the child doesn't get to develop into their own person. They're too busy being what the parent needs them to be. Something in my chest cracked open. Because she was right. She was describing my entire life. So what do I do? I whispered. First, Mrs. Miller said, you stay here tonight. We have a guest room. Tomorrow, we figure out next steps. We'll help you find a job, get some documentation together, maybe look into whether you can finish your senior year, 1 step at a time. Okay? I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. That night, I lay in the Miller's guest room, a small, plain room with a twin bed and a dresser and a window that looked out over their backyard, and I couldn't sleep. Not because I was uncomfortable, because I was too comfortable. The bed was soft. The room was quiet. There was a nightlight in the hallway, and I could hear the low murmur of Mr. and Mrs. Miller talking downstairs, normal parent sounds. And I realized, this is what it's supposed to feel like. Safe, calm, no eggshells, no performance, no walking on a tightrope trying not to disappoint anyone. Just safe. I pulled out my journal and wrote, Day 1 of being an adult. I have $0, 3 boxes of stuff, and I'm sleeping in a stranger's guest room. But for the first time in my life, I think I might be okay. Monday morning, Mrs. Miller drove me to the public library. They're hiring for a part-time shelving position, she said. It's not much, but it's a start. And the head librarian, Carol, is a friend of mine. I called ahead. I never had a job interview before. I didn't know what to say, or how to act, or what questions they'd ask. Mrs. Miller coached me in the car. Be honest. Tell her you're eager to learn. Show up on time. Work hard. Be polite. That's all anyone can ask. Carol turned out to be a woman in her 60s, with reading glasses on a chain and a kind smile. She interviewed me in her office, a cluttered space filled with books and coffee mugs. So, Gina, she said, looking at the blank resume Mrs. Miller had helped me put together. I see you don't have any work experience. No, ma'am, I said, but I'm a fast learner, and I love books. I've been coming to this library since I was a kid. Why do you want this job? The honest answer, because I have no money and nowhere else to go and I'm desperate. The answer I gave, I'm trying to build independence. I want to support myself, and I think working here would be a good place to start. Carol studied me for a long moment. Then she smiled. When can you start? Tomorrow, I said immediately. She laughed. How about Thursday? That'll give me time to get your paperwork processed. I wanted to cry. Instead, I smiled and said, Thank you. Thank you so much. When I got back to the car, Mrs. Miller was waiting. Well? She asked. I got the job, I said. And then I did cry. Just a little. That week, Mrs. Miller helped me with things I didn't even know I needed to learn. We went to the bank. She helped me open my first bank account, a checking account with $0 in it. But it was mine. My name on the card. My account number. She helped me apply for a new phone plan, a cheap prepaid one that I could afford once I started getting paychecks. She drove me to the DMV and helped me fill out the forms to get my learner's permit. We'll get you practicing, she said. You'll have your license in no time. Kevin taught me how to budget. We sat at the kitchen table with a notebook, and he showed me how to track expenses, how to save, how to make sure I didn't spend money I didn't have. Start small, he said. Every paycheck, put 10% in savings, even if it's just $5. It adds up. I felt like a child, learning to walk, except I was 18 and should have known all of this already. But the Millers never made me feel stupid. They just helped. And then, Thursday came. My first day of work. I wore my nicest jeans and a clean sweater. Kevin drove me to the library and walked me to the door. You're going to be great, he said. What if I mess up? Then you learn and do better tomorrow. That's how jobs work. My first shift was 4 hours. Carol showed me how the shelving system worked, how to read the call numbers, how to use the book cart. It was simple, mindless work, exactly what I needed. At the end of the shift, Carol handed me a timesheet. Fill this out every day, she said. Payday is every other Friday. 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, I'd get my first paycheck. I walked out of that library feeling like I'd climbed a mountain. Kevin was waiting in the parking lot. When I got in the car, he grinned. How'd it go? I shelved 63 books, I said, and I only put 2 in the wrong section. That's a 97% success rate. Not bad for day 1. When we got back to the Miller's house, Mrs. Miller had made dinner. We all sat around the table, me, Kevin, Mr. and Mrs. Miller, and they asked about my day like it mattered. Like I mattered. And for the first time since the boxes, I felt something other than fear. I felt hope. That night, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. But I knew who it was. I hope you're happy. I'm all alone now. After everything I did for you. I stared at the message. My first instinct was to apologize. To call her. To fix it. But then Kevin knocked on my door. "You okay?" he asked. I showed him the text. His face hardened. "You don't have to respond to that. But she's trying to manipulate you. Don't let her." I looked at the message again, and then I did something I'd never done before. I deleted it without responding. Kevin smiled. "There you go. That's a boundary." "A boundary," I repeated. It felt strange, and terrifying, and a little bit powerful. 2 weeks later, I got my first paycheck. $147.32. I held that check in my hands, and I couldn't stop staring at it. It wasn't much. It was barely anything. But it was mine. I'd earned it. With my own time. My own work. Kevin drove me to the bank, and I deposited it into my account. The teller printed out a receipt. Account balance, $147.32. I took a picture of it. I wanted to remember this moment. The moment I realized I could actually survive without my mother. That night, I treated Kevin and his parents to pizza. $14.63 at the cheap place down the street. It left me with $132.69. But I didn't care, because I'd done it. I'd earned money, and I'd spent it on people who'd helped me. And I'd done it all without asking my mother for permission or approval. Mrs. Miller raised her soda can. To Gina. And to first paychecks. We all clinked our drinks together, and I smiled. A real smile. The text from my mom continued. "Not every day, but enough. You're being selfish. I need you. We're supposed to be a team. How can you do this to me?" Each one was a test. Each one made my chest tighten with guilt and doubt. But each time, I remembered the boxes, the paint swatches, the folder full of homeless shelters, and I didn't respond. Mrs. Miller said I was practicing boundaries, that every time I chose not to engage, I was choosing myself. It didn't feel like choosing myself. It felt like abandoning my mother. But Mrs. Miller said those two things weren't the same. I was still learning to believe her. 3 weeks after my birthday, I was shelving books in the quiet section of the library when I heard the front door open. I didn't look up at first. People came and went all day. But then I heard a voice. A familiar voice. "Excuse me, I'm looking for Gina." I froze. I turned around slowly. And there she was, my mother, standing in the middle of the library, wearing the black dress and the red lipstick, looking perfect and put together and completely out of place. She saw me and smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. It was a hunter's smile. I'll tell you what happened next in a minute. But first, I need you to understand something. That moment seeing my mother walk into the library, into the new life I was trying to build, that was the moment I realized this wasn't over. She'd kicked me out. She'd handed me a folder of homeless shelters and told me to leave by sunset. But she wasn't ready to let me go. Because the thing about enmeshed relationships, they don't end when the child grows up. They don't end when the child moves out. They end when the child sets a boundary. And I hadn't set one yet. Not really. So she came to get me back. Not because she missed me. Not because she loved me. But because she needed me to need her. And that was when the real fight began.
Hope you enjoyed the story, and please like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. And next episode coming soon, stay tuned.